Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. And today I have a really special treat. If you have phobia, if you have anxiety, if you have fears, this is your girl. This is Kalliope Barlis, and she is a good friend. And we are two peas in a pod because we are taking on this world of anxiety and trying to help you get rid of it because that we know that you can, and we are living proof, the both of us. But Calliope is a phobia relief expert, and she's the author of Phobia Relief, From Fear to Freedom. And Calliope used to be a pro golfer, and her coach introduced her to these mental skills to build the game that she wanted to, and it's called Neuro-Linguistic Programming. NLP for short. And she learned about this method and it was so amazing. She's like, this is what I'm meant to do in the world. And she became a master at NLP herself. And now she helps people all over the world get over their fears, but also she teaches other practitioners how to do NLP and really spread those ripples of helping people. And so help me welcoming Calliope to our show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jodi.
Yeah, it's really great. I read your book, Phobia Relief, and you have some amazing stories in there of transformation. And so that's what we're really talking about today. Like how, maybe you could start with telling us a little about NLP and why it works so good. Maybe that's too big of a question, but.
Well, it works neurologically, not psychologically,
Okay.
because our thoughts have structure. So if you think of a great time in your life versus a not so good time, it certainly looks very different inside your mind, right? And so a lot of the time when people are successful in their lives, they have great big pictures of what they want to do in their lives versus other people who just sort of feel bogged down or literally overwhelmed. We take the pictures inside the minds, the feelings and the sounds, and literally just change them because thought has structure.
Interesting. Okay. So, well, can you give us a little example? How do we change the structure of one thought, like a big picture and everything's good, from that overwhelm and dark place?
Right. Yeah, that's right. So a lot of the times when people have a problem that's too close to them, or even that they're overwhelmed with something, it's all in their language. They're basically letting you know how they're actually thinking about it.
Okay.
Someone who feels overwhelmed oftentimes has a huge picture of something not so good, something that they're worrying about, something that's causing that anxiety. And in the end, it literally, I mean, the very definition, I'm sure you already know this, anxiety is caused because we don't breathe, right? And the body's like screaming for oxygen. So that's really anxiety,
Like,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And so when I literally change someone's way of thinking, those big pictures into smaller pictures, it changes how they feel.
Okay.
Right. So if you think about thought, it creates pathways inside the brain, right? Those neural pathways. And it's one neuron to the next, to the next, to the next, firing off with any sort of memory you have.
Okay.
And whenever you think about the future, that's a future memory that you're creating. So whether it's of the past or of the future, it's still creating a pathway, right? And so when you shrink down the picture or even reverse the memory, like literally as if you're tapping on a video screen times 2, times 3, times 4 to rewind it. Yeah, the pathway inside the mind literally loses its charge, which is the coolest thing. And that's why it's a neurological tool.
We need this. I see. Oh, yes. I mean, so many people really need that, right? Because these memories are so powerful and pervasive and devastating. And so you're saying can you give us an example? You're literally like thinking about pushing that rewind button.
That's right. So, you tap on your remote to the television and you tap times 3, times 4 to rewind it even faster. And the faster you go, in rewinding it, the faster your brain will do what it is that you want it to do, because our brains work very fast, whether or not we realize it.
Mm-hmm.
We do things automatically, brush our teeth, drive our car, do the things at work that we need to do. And so the faster we rewind it, it literally loses the charge inside the pathway, and therefore changes how the person feels.
Awesome. So if someone was having like flashbacks from a memory, you could do this process, and what happens then?
They'll definitely change how they're feeling, so they feel better. You know, there's what this really offers is hope. You know, that you don't have to feel terrible, that you can feel all right, even though you're thinking about it. Like, the one thing I say to people is, okay, you may think about it again, but it will never feel the same.
Wow. That is like, I mean, I could feel people reaching through the screen and like just wanting this so much for themselves, you know. And if you're looking for Kalliope, just kalliope.nyc is the fastest way to get to her. But I will put all her links below this video so you could find out where she hangs out on social media and everything to get to her. But Kalliope with a K, kalliope.nyc, to learn more about this. You have workshops. You work one-on-one with people, but you have workshops that teach people how to do it and how to help themselves. And then also you have more workshops to help people learn this. So it's really easy. Now, could it be that easy? I mean, a lot of us here are listening and going, come on, can't be that easy. I've suffered for 20 years. It can't be that easy. What do you have to say about that?
That it is, and the hardest thing for people to believe that it is. That's like the hardest part. And so to make sure that the change actually sticks, so that it's progressive, is that, okay, so if you're taking away one thing, you need to create another response in the future. Mm-hmm. So that, let's say I shrink down these bad memories, these phobias, and rewind them, always got to build in what it is that they're going to do instead. Okay. You know, someone who stopped drinking after so many years of drinking socially, they have to think about what they're going to do instead. It's like their whole social structure changes, right? Because they quit smoking, so or drinking. And if we don't build a different response in, then they just might go back to the old habits.
Okay. So say if you have social anxiety and don't like crowds or nervous about going on a date, say, what would the new one be? I mean, I know it's different for everyone, but give us an example. What would you put in there instead?
Right. So with someone who's got social anxiety, they don't see people interested in them. Mm-hmm. Right? They think they're either being judged. Yeah. Right, exactly. And they even see themselves freaking out. Instead, shrinking those pictures, but then seeing themselves feeling good around people, mm-hmm. and actually adding something to their lives, like whether telling a joke or just talking about an event or whatever else is going on in this world, in their world, and seeing themselves having fun with people. Right. And when they start planning, because everything's a plan when it comes down to it. Right. People just don't realize they're poorly planning.
Give me an example of like how you help change the voices in your head that open new doorways. Like how, there's those memories and the pathways, and maybe this is similar, but what about those negative voices? What about that negative self-critic that's harassing us all the time?
Right. Well, often, a lot of the time, a lot of people have that sort of voice, whether it be their mother's voice or their father's or their own, or a school teacher from grade school, and I have them change it into some kind of funny voice, so that the person, whoever's really talking in their head, has no power over them anymore. Right? So either a cartoon character or even blowing through a helium balloon and hearing that same voice, and then changing it into a more soothing voice, or even the voice that their best friend would be saying. Because if it's one thing I always tell people who have scary voices in their head is, would you be that person's friend if they actually talk to you like that? And they say no. I mean, of course they do, right? So why on earth are you doing that to yourself? And it brings humor to it so that they can then begin to change.
And you do talk about bringing humor to the situation, how that changes the neuroplasticity. Can you say more about that? People might not know what neuroplasticity is. But.
Sure, it's the brain's ability to change and be adaptable to its needs. So these fishermen in like the Far East have developed these incredible eyes so that they can actually fish undersea, in water with no equipment, right? And they can see as sharp as anything because their brain has adapted. And so if someone loses some portion of some aspect of their brain, their body will do whatever it needs to do to get that back, that sense back. When we laugh, it increases oxytocin in our brain. Right. That's the feel-good chemical.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. And so what it does is really weaken whatever else is going on. It literally just makes it drift away. And I know, like, there's some Harry Potter characters that when you laugh at whatever manifests of something that the person fears, when you laugh at it, it disappears.
Yeah, the Bogart. I talk about that.
Yeah, the Bogart. That's right. That's it. Yeah. And so the same goes on inside of our minds. When we start laughing about something, especially to someone else, it loses power.
It's so powerful. I mean, anxiety is so serious.
Right.
I really appreciated that. Do you have your book with you? You can hold it up.
Yeah, sure. Yep. It's right here.
Phobia Relief. Look at that. From Fear to Freedom. This is a very easy to read book, and it really helps you understand. And there's a lot of, you could tell us, Kalliope, there's a lot of exercises that people could do right at home.
That's right. And in fact, I wrote it so that anybody could read it, so that it's understandable for even someone who just comes to this country who doesn't know a whole lot of English. You know, I mean, I've had people come to me and say that they've never been able to finish a book and they've been able to read this book within a week. And so that makes me feel proud because I know it's accessible.
Yes.
And so at the end of each chapter, there's an exercise that's actually meant to be followed in the sequence of the chapters, so that they can be phobia free by the end of it and start building in better responses.
So I encourage all you to go out and get the book. The link is below. Kalliope, you said you don't use the word don't. You don't use the word don't. Why not?
Well, I do sometimes. Like with my godson, he had a big rock in his hand. He was about to throw it, and I said, drop the rock. I didn't say don't throw the rock, because in actuality, whatever comes after the word don't, we see, right? And so instead of saying don't forget, which someone will forget because that's how they envision, instead saying remember, so that they actually do what you want them to do. But I'll tell you what, it works really well with kids who don't like to do what you tell them not to do, like don't brush your teeth. They just may brush their teeth after all.
When you need it.
Yeah, that's right.
I like that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been really, really helpful. And I think everyone could go out and buy your book and go to Kalliope.nyc to find out when you could go to one of these workshops and really have it change your life for the better. It's really awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jodi. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I will see you next time. And until then, let that you want to be shine through. Thank you so much for watching this video. What do you want to do next? If you want to get happy in your life, click up here. If you want to subscribe to my channel and keep getting more videos, click right here. And if you want to watch the next video right now, click here.